Mr. Fuller.
Here.
Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Ms. Materney. Here. Mr. McCarthy. Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Here.
Mr. Weber.
Here.
If we can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I know we don't have necessarily a formal agenda for this specific public hearing, but we'll jump right into the public hearing for the DORA for Levis first. If anybody has, I'm trying to pull everything up here, so I apologize. It's taking me a minute here. So it looks like we'll have the chief come up and maybe talk about this one as I get this pulled up here, so that way I don't have to sit here and wait for me to get this to load.
All right. Thank you. Tonight, real quick, we actually have two petitions before you, one for the Levis, or the DORA at Levis Commons, and the other for the downtown DORA. Real quick on the downtown one, just as kind of an overview, the application that you have before you was prepared by me along with Ms. Cabot and Ms. Sandretto. And then the application for Levis was prepared by Rita Nelson, who is here tonight and can speak more on that. But as far as the Levis or the DORA at Levis Commons is concerned, myself, Ms. Sandretto, and Ms. Cabot have all reviewed that application. It does meet the requirements of the Ohio Revised Code, and we're comfortable with it. I'll stand here right now and say, before we get anything, I'm recommending that the council does pass both of these applications and does allow the expansion of the DORA in downtown, as well as the additional DORA out of Levis. So, but with regards to Levis, I'll let Ms. Nelson speak more on that as she prepared that application. But like I said, we have reviewed it, and it does meet the requirements of the ORC.
If I can ask as well, is there any difference from the last proposal on this, or is it pretty much the same?
A lot of it is the same, but the map is different. The map is expanded. When we went through this the first time around, there were some concerns with DORA. We did not know what to expect, myself included. And so we started off with a much smaller footprint. When we were looking at the Levis map the first time around, we started off with a larger footprint and then condensed it down. Basically, the map of the Levis DORA goes from 25 back to the ditch behind, at the very back of Levis at the Goya area, over to Roachton Road, and then over to the edge of the drive there where the medical buildings are. So it does cover that entire area. So with that, I'll let Ms. Nelson speak to more of the
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And please state your name and name for the record.
Absolutely. My apologies. Rita Nelson, and I'm the general manager for the town center at Levis. And thank you for inviting me to all the council members. So I'm here again, and that's okay. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. I believe each of you has a copy of the proposal. The other update that we did do was the code, because there were some code updates. So we did do that in this proposal as well. So again, happy to answer any questions whenever you are ready.
Footprint the same as this original application?
The answer is yes, with two exceptions. We extended the boundaries as the chief outlined just a few minutes ago. And of course, we updated the proposal to adhere to the new codes, because there were some new laws, and you know, among the four of us, I think we met sometime in January, I believe it was January, and updated what was necessary. So if you were to look on page, give me a minute, I got to put on my glasses because I can't see without them. So if you were to go to page 3 in the proposal, it shows the specific boundaries, and again, comparing it to the first time around, it has been expanded. So Dixie Highway to Roachton, east of Owens Way, and then north Wilkinson Way. So it is a bigger footprint than it was in the original proposal.
Any questions from any of the members? You were all pretty familiar from the last.
We're very familiar with
It's-
the last time.
Again, I'm here for you to answer any questions.
All
And
your
again, thank you for.
Same security measures are in place?
Same security. Well, there is one update on our security. We are installing all new cameras, and that will be done in mid-June. Again, depending on the supply issue. Maybe on a boat somewhere, but we're hoping that we'll get that by mid-June. So, and we're pretty excited about it. Are you okay?
Yeah, just
Councilman Smith?
drink the water down a little.
Okay, all right.
Down the wrong pipe.
Okay, because I'll wait.
No, you're fine.
Okay. So, yes, so I'm excited about that. We have
Well,
all new
Rita,
cameras.
I like to echo what the chief said at the first time around. You know, we just didn't know what we didn't know.
It's okay. I understand.
But it's been proven,
Yeah.
it's been proven to work. And
Yeah, yeah, we're
really
excited
happy
about it.
that it's
Yeah.
gonna work out.
Yeah, we're excited about it. And then on page 6, it gives you a good, page 6 and 8, what the DORA Cup designs will be looking like. And again, this was done with the chief and Miss Bridget and Miss Kate.
Oh, okay.
So,
Nice.
Those are both plastic?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's all plastic, yep.
Looks almost like glass.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, yeah, it's really
Yeah, I
quite
like the
nice.
one there.
Yeah, so this was approved.
Is that your new logo? Is it a cardinal? Or?
Nope, that's our logo. It's been our logo since we opened in 2004. So, and then on page 10, we have the participating merchants with the understanding that we're going to be opening up 3 new restaurants this year, one of which will be Agave and Rye,
Okay, here.
and they'll be where Max and Irma's once was, and they'll be opening on December 1st of this year. And then at the Harmon property, we've got Claude's Seafood and Hangover Easy. Claude's is supposed to be opening, I believe they said mid-June? We'll see.
You better
We'll
hurry.
see. Huh?
You better hurry.
Better hurry? It doesn't, I know, but that's what Steve Harmon mentioned to me, as a matter of fact, today. So we've got 3 new restaurants this year, and then the town center, Hill Partners, we're probably going to be looking at 2 more next year. So,
They all sell
Yeah.
alcohol, the
all,
place
yes,
does too?
yep, full-service sit-down restaurants.
Sounds like things are going really well. And
Very well, actually, and we've got 9 new leases signed. I know, it's just a little busy, but that's good. It keeps me out of trouble, so it's all good. All good. So, anything else that I can assist with? And as you said, Councilman Weber, this is really a repeat of 2019 with just minor adjustments.
this looks great, and I know we still have a few more public hearings we have to have on these, and
Whatever
no
it
more.
takes.
No, I've seen, I thought we had one more. Is that just a council meeting? Okay. Yep.
Is there anything else? Oh, I'm sorry.
Noon to 11, Monday through Sunday?
Hours.
That's correct. 7 days a week.
Were you asking why it doesn't say Sunday through Saturday?
No, why is it downtown?
The hours at, the restaurants at Levis are open longer, to
Okay.
keep people out there longer, so that's why
Okay.
that's the recommendation for longer hours.
Okay.
That's a good point. You know, Bar Louie being one of them, and then one of the other restaurants that will be opening in 2023 will also have those hours.
So circling back to the change in map, I think one section, if I see this correctly, is the Bob Evans restaurant.
That is
That's
correct.
one
Councilman.
addition, if you will, and then where would the other piece be? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no problem. So it'll go as far out Michael Owens Way, if you can visualize that. Maybe I should have another. So Bob Evans, Councilman Van Huzen, so you've got Bob Evans all the way out to where the Hilton and Nagoya, and then going out to where Mosaic is. Actually, that's not accurate. Yeah, Mosaic and then Holiday Inn Express, and then coming back on Chapel. You see that?
Thank you.
Did I answer your?
Yes.
Who's Flying Joe in those?
Flying Joe as well, yep, so you've got, that's all encompassing on Chapel. So it goes as far out as Holiday Inn Express,
Great.
yep, because they do serve liquor as well.
I don't think there's any more questions at this point, unless there's any questions from the audience. Hearing none on that, thank you very much for coming
You
out.
are quite welcome, and thank you for inviting me, and each of you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Reeve.
You too.
All right, so next item on the agenda is the expansion of the downtown DORA. So Chief, if you don't mind giving us a little update on that.
Yes. So we've had the downtown DORA up and running for a time now, and as I mentioned earlier, I had some concerns with, you know, how big it would be and that, and what we've seen, our main issue has been is people taking their drinks past the boundaries. So the way I look at that is we have basically two options. We can enforce it, you know, till we're blue in the face, or we can expand it to where it makes sense. So what we're recommending is an expansion of the current DORA. What it would encompass, it would go between Walnut and Elm Street. It would then go between Fifth Street and Front Street, and then there would also be a portion of Hood Park and the extension of Louisiana down to the river that would be included in that. We feel that this footprint would allow for the events that we hold downtown to be, you know, included in that. I know, you know, there's been concerns about, you know, when we have larger events down in downtown that, you know, maybe the DORA is not in effect for that. My concern was with the current footprint, Harrison Rally Day being the example, that would expand down to the Commodore, that would expand down to Walnut, down to Elm Street, and we really can't police that very well. With this new footprint, this would cover the events such as the Great Race that's going to be coming through in June. You know, if there is a Harrison Rally Day type event, it would cover that, so the DORA could stay up and running during those events, and which I think would be a big plus for that. I've had some back and forth with myself about expanding down to the river, because once you get down to the river, you can start going down Water Street, then you can be all the way down to Orleans Park potentially, and then I don't think we want to, at least I don't really want to expand it down that far yet. But I think with what we have laid out, it makes sense. You got a little bit of the park there, you can go down to the river if you want. Gives, you know, people some options there. So that's what we've come up with to expand it. Everything else will stay the same as far as the hours go, and that will be the biggest change to it.
A long walk to Orleans Park to sip a beer. I'd probably have it finished before I got there, but
I think at least one person who might want to do that.
we all seem to look over it. If you don't mind, I do have a couple quick questions. I know there was some talk with the property that we have the music at the market, and then there's the car show that happens, and that's part of the schools. Has the school reached out and talked on that one?
Yes, I've had a conversation with Mr. Hostler about that. They are aware that, you know, this would encompass the school property, and they've had some internal discussions. You know, he's had some internal discussions with board members about that. There's been no outright opposition to it. They're having conversations with their insurance carrier just to make sure there's nothing else they would need to do that. I've also reached out to the owner of Fifth Street Pub. You know, he's excited that it would expand down there to include them as well. Had a conversation with Rick Ruffner. You know, he would have no issues with it. You know, at the car show, you know, he'd like to see it expand down there as well. So I think, you know, the people that are contained within it has been very positive response.
And no issues with the library as well?
Yes, I've already reached out.
Okay.
They're all good with it.
Okay.
Yep.
And,
For the outdoors of it, anyway.
And I know Ms. Andretto's had conversations with the owners of Perry's Landing, and no issues there.
Good. And then for the part that's going down to the water, From the way I look at this map, Hood Park is included in this, so we would allow it through Hood Park.
Yes, and so the code currently allows for the Director of Public Safety to make an exemption for the park, so that's already within the code, so that exemption could be made. And if we end up having issues with it, then I guess we'll have to come back and address that, but there is a trigger in place to take care of that.
And then I noticed from where the map is, it's just before you get to the boat club. Should we move that over to the boat club for the people that are visiting, or is there any thoughts or any replies that the boat club has made any request on this?
I guess my thought on it is the boat club is a private club, so they can bring their own beverages onto their property, drink them on their property, but obviously they can't take them off the property. They can't be they can't be a DORA permit holder because they're not a permit holder in that fact. So as I mentioned before, I kind of like rectangles and squares, and so just the topography of the land there and how it goes down, where we've kind of drawn the boundaries, it gives us some natural areas to place signs, so we're not having people wandering, down Water Street to Riverside Park or farther.
Because the reason and it's not about being able to serve the alcohol there, but
Right.
if someone that's visiting the boat club from another, let's say here on Ohio, people travel around and go boat club to boat club in the summer, that they could go up, grab a bite to eat, and take a drink and come back down to their boat. Is that something that's is this attached to the property where they can walk onto that, or is that a whole other issue?
No, there would be at least one parcel that would be in between where the current boundaries are marked out on the map and where the boat club property would begin.
Wonder if that's something we should, I know that you're trying to keep it a rectangle, but if it's a way to give them access where people are visiting the area, I'm assuming that they can, I'm assuming here, and I don't want to assume, so I want to ask the question. With the public docks there, and I see it coming right up to the water, if someone's visiting on those public docks, can they take that drink
Yes.
onto the dock, onto their boat? Okay.
So, and just trying to understand, so the map may or may not indicate what I hear you saying. So when we're in Hood Park, that does not include the sidewalk along the side of the street. It, just based on this map, it looks like you could go down the hill from the statue, not the statue, but the World War I. So I'm just wondering, does
So
it include the sidewalk to go
Yeah,
down?
so if you look at page 19, the Exhibit D, where the red dots are on that map, is where the signage would be for the boundaries. So along Front Street there, it would basically line up with the edge of the buildings on the east side, and it would go down a little ways on the west side. So it would include the crosswalks, get across part of the sidewalk there, and then straight down to the river. So they'd be able to be on that sidewalk for a little ways on that side.
So the sidewalk on the west side is acceptable, but the sidewalk on the east
Well-
side is not?
I guess the sidewalk on the Front Street sidewalk itself, the south side of Front Street is acceptable, but the north side would not be. The same would be on Fifth Street. The south side, it would go to the south side of Fifth, and then with Walnut and Elm, it would go to the west side of Walnut and the east side of Elm Street.
So when one gets to Water Street, or what used to be Water Street, there's a red dot.
So there'd be signs there to not proceed.
So there will be a pathway, because that narrows right there at the Water Street to the boat launch.
Right. So on that, if you have a color version of that map, basically the yellow highlighted area is all included in the DORA.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so basically going west on Water Street, the way it's laid out here, would not be permitted.
From the straight line that's coming down from Hood Park. Okay,
Correct.
gotcha, understood, thank you.
Any other questions from any members?
I got it, just a few. So last time we stopped it at the railroad tracks because of safety concerns, is it kind of just been the experience with dealing with DORA at this point that's kind of alleviated that?
Yeah, and like I said, you know, I had some concerns, and as I've seen this progress over the last, you know, year or so that's been operational, some of my concerns have been alleviated.
Okay, and then can you, because I kind of did ask you about Harrison Rally Days a while ago, and can you just kind of familiarize us again with that process? When we have special events, what the process is for modifying those hours if it's necessary?
Right, so the way the ordinance was passed the last time, it allows the chief of police or the director of public safety to temporarily suspend the DORA for various things. And like I said, with Harrison Rally Day, it was my concern because it encompassed an area that was much larger than what the DORA, you know, was encompassed at that time. With this larger area, I wouldn't anticipate that happening. This area would cover that. But it's also there for other things. You know, let's say you get a group, a divisive group that wants to come in and have a rally, and you have people on the other side of it that want to come in and counter protest that. If they have that rally in downtown Perrysburg, I really don't want to add alcohol to fuel that. So that'd be, you know, an emergency example where, you know, that would come in, you know, as a benefit.
Perfect. I like that you're open-minded to the expansion. I appreciate you, you know, putting the time in and making a new map, because I think it's going to be helpful for everybody to enjoy it even more, so.
Chief, on going back to special events, if there's an organization that has a beer tent, something, and that's fenced off, is there any regulation there? I mean, we just got to make sure they stay inside there.
Well, actually, what they can
that
do,
be,
so if they get an F permit, they would have to get an F permit for that, they can apply to the Division of Liquor Control to get a temporary, basically a temporary stamp for that permit to be part of that DORA.
Oh, okay.
So then at that point, they could sell DORA beverages, but they would have to abide by all the rules of the DORA. They'd have to have the DORA beverage cups if, you know, if someone's taking it to go. But they could be part of that. If they don't apply for that, then they could still be within it, but they cannot take, you know, alcohol cannot go out of that tent.
Okay.
One real quick question I forgot to ask you. Have you noticed any increase in like shift coverage that you need because of DORA as a direct relation to that? I know that was one of our concerns initially, is providing security.
No, where we've, in this farmer's market, I always have an extra officer just on foot in the downtown area, basically more as community relations. But last year, you know, when you had music at the market, so you had your food trucks by the library, it's natural progression. You got your beer, it's like I want some food, you go to the food truck, you hear the music, you go down to there. So this would alleviate that. But that's where we were having some issues as far as people getting out. And, you know, there may have been some people that were just intentionally doing it, but I think the majority of them were people that weren't paying attention. You know, they're focused on the food and then the music.
So, but I guess my real question, I guess, would come down to, is this costing taxpayers more money to help provide security for the DORA?
No, where our overtime expenses come in is when we have the special events. So I wouldn't say it's the DORA that is, you know, costing the overtime, it's the special events. But majority of the special events, that cost is passed on to the event organizers who pay for the extra officers to be in the area.
Thank you.
And along those same lines, I understand that our sanitation department's not working any harder either because of DORA. Is that correct, Bridget? Would you say
For
that?
the most part, no, but there have been times at certain events, special events where we have to have them in longer, on a weekend.
Right, special events, no, okay.
And to that, I guess, the public restrooms, are they going to be open the same hours as the DORA?
That is a good question. They've been vandalized again downtown, so we're looking into what to do about that.
Because I have a feeling with this expansion and people being allowed to use those restrooms, it would be handy if we could have those open, if it's safe, obviously.
So, follow-up question, and you made me think of it when you talked about food trucks, that phenomena. Beer trucks, are those permittable? And then would it include that DORA add-on or not? I mean, how do we view that?
I don't think they would be permissible under this. The beer trucks would be, you know, they would have to have that permit, so they would be part of, you know, that tent fenced in area where they'd be serving.
It would not be treated the same as a food truck, per se.
Correct.
Any other questions?
You guys want to add the municipal building after that?
I was actually half tempted on that one. I was gonna ask that myself, so.
I gotta make that rectangle bigger, so.
Then we'd have to change the personnel handbook to outlaw.
To get through the security checkpoint with those. Any other concerns, any thoughts, questions from the public regarding the expansion of DORA in downtown? All right, seeing none at this point, I thank you, Chief, I appreciate it. If there's nothing else for the good of these two items, make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconds, any opposed? All right, we're adjourned.